you and I have talked on the phone, and I loved our conversation because you're a visionary man. And I think you're a visionary man now having GOGI Life tools. So many more of your visions, you're going to be able to make them concrete realities, which I'm really excited about because that's what the GOGI Life tools do. What I wanted to talk about today, and we have maybe about 15 minutes to do that, I want to talk about our topic on our phone call, which was a GOGI house.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I see you light up with that.
Yeah.
It's inevitable that one of our graduates, one of our certified coaches, would come to me and say, you know what, I really want to start a GOGI house because when guys get out or women get out, they want to be with like-minded people. They don't want to be with all the shenanigans and all the other stuff going on. They want to stay true to their tools and let their visions become reality. So
Yes.
talk to me a little bit about your vision. What would a GOGI house look like? How would it operate? Tell me a little bit about that.
My thoughts on that are, yes, it's very overwhelming. It's sensory overload upon release. So everything's coming from all angles. So my first thought was to have a safe space where you can kind of regroup and you have like-minded people around ready to address these little issues, and then set up a little bit of a schedule to be able to chip away at the things instead of how I was just overwhelmed with everything, with driver's license, with identification paperwork, with regular shopping and food and everything that we don't deal with a lot incarcerated. And then it just comes at you at full speed. So my first thought was a little bit of a safety kind of space for everyone, not only the rooms, but in the entire environment. And the house that I have planned is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house. So I was envisioned being the house manager, kind of. And then the other 4 rooms would be great. Each room would be for one of the sets of tools. And on 3 of the walls, I thought to have one of the drawings that were donated, enlarged and put on the walls. So, it'd be like, oh, you're in the tools of the body room, or you're in tools of choice. And maybe even thinking a little bit further, maybe initially they would start in the tools of the body and then work their way up as they were progressing through, so that they were seeing some progress as they were going through. And then there's a large shop on the back. It's on 4.8 acres and it's out in the rural area outside Seattle, about 45 minutes north. And so there's fruit trees and there's a chicken coop and there's dog kennels, and they're all unoccupied at this point. But I thought, the therapeutic value, there's an area that we could even put a horse or two, and the added therapeutic value to help get people off of the institutionalized thinking and really just get back to the basics of life. I would envision a chore schedule. So, not so much that, members that will be in participating GOGI students will be able to pick and choose, but overall that we would have to cover all of the aspects that need to be done around the area. But the best thing is that everything will be self-sufficient there. There's a large metal shop in the back. It's kind of 2 stories. It's 2 stories tall, but at this time it's only 1 story with just a very high ceiling. But I even thought that larger area could be made like a classroom, and we could have a large screen. So maybe even we could participate in Zoom meetings as a group unit there, listening and interacting with everybody there, but also so that we can get down and study seriously when we have our meetings. But it would be kind of away from the living quarters, because I thought maybe the living quarters, of course, GOGI down the hallways, our sayings, to always keep that fresh in their minds. But there's a large kitchen there. And then we could even develop, there's an attached 2-car garage, but maybe that could be even like a formal dining area. So we all cook. And then, but the main thing is to teach everybody these skills, along with all of the GOGI tools, absolutely. But just basic skills of living, how to cook, how to use a microwave, how to log on to the internet, all of these things that I didn't know anything about. And I just was lucky enough that I had Gogi to reach out to. I had the Zoom meetings to start. I have contacts with them, but and also a couple other nonprofits. So Anti-Recidivism Coalition has been helping with me a lot, and also Project Rebound in Sac State as I'm working on my BA degree presently.
This house, it has I don't know, a little bit of a, maybe perhaps a sentimental value. Is that right?
Yes, yes, it was my
Tell me,
dad's house.
tell me about this specific house.
It was my dad's house, and they recently passed, and I was left with it. So I sit back and I see the love in all of the corners of the house. I see where the fruit trees are. I see the uh like playhouse that he made for my daughters, his grandchildren, that's back off in the woods a little bit. So these are all things that I can see that there it's just overwhelming with love all throughout the house. And these are things that I would like to other people to experience. So it's not so institutionalized, or it's not so commercialized, that it's more a loving home, like a loving family, just like we all are as Gogi participants.
So a couple of things. There is a mandated reentry home that is paid for by states or government. Then there's just like housing for people who are released and they are given absolutely no support. They're just released and they don't have a place to go. And then there are individuals who just create sober living environments without going for grants, or they just say, hey, I have a room for rent in my house. There's no smoking, no drinking, no drugs in my house. So there are many different avenues in creating a Gogi friendly house, or a house that is just overwhelmingly supportive of the Gogi life tools. What would be, if I'm a guy sitting in a cell and I inherited a house and I don't know what to do with it? What are some of the things that I have to think about when I think, well, I want to be in an environment, I can't afford the mortgage, but I have this house. What are some of the thought processes that this person might need to go through to determine whether they can do kind of what you're doing?
Well, I believe that the first part is being of service. I think that that's a big part of your personality, is the selfless service for the next person. And in my idea, there's everything I have is for the purpose of doing good and helping others. Just paying it forward and being available. So that's the first thought that I have. And for me, my faith in God, I hang on God. I believe that his plan, not mine, and I'm the willing passenger. I ride along and love and go forward with love. That's the biggest thing with Gogi and with me, is moving forward with love and acceptance, accepting people, because I don't get it all right all the time either, and understanding that our reality check, 10 steps forward, 2 steps back, still 8 steps forward. So let's focus on the positive and then let's work on the negative. But our main goal and focus is the positive and the progress that we're making along the way.
I love it. So in having a Gogi friendly house, which, you don't need permission or a license to offer Gogi in any living environment. I mean, when people come to my office, it's absolutely a Gogi office. There's not one thing in here that's not Gogi. It's just Gogi. And there's no rule that says I have to apply to do that. Anybody who knows the Gogi tools can offer them in their homes, in any reentry. They can just offer it freely. These tools are for everyone. So to start a Gogi friendly house where you are able to send us an email and say, hey, I've got my Gogi house and I am ready to populate it. Can you invite Gogi students, or can I have some Gogi supplies? All of that is something I look forward to helping you with, Coach Jason. I really look forward to helping you do that.
Yes, Coach Taylor, and I've given it a lot of thought, and I felt that, I would at least want to see some commitment from the GOGI students. I felt that there should be some GOGI projects completed under their belt before they come so that we could see some of the dedication. And because for me, it took initially 4 months of hard GOGI study, and I mean every day, hours each day. And I was lucky it was during some of the COVID, so I didn't have a lot of other things to do. I could have watched TV or something, but no, I was studying GOGI.
Yeah, you started Teach Me How to Gogi writing course in June of 2020, Insight Development, the How to Gogi book study, and Gogi Group certificate program. All those were in June of 2020. Then in August, you did Gogi leadership. Then finally, you did the My Life Story project, that's my favorite because I get to see every one of those. Then you did release preparation in October. I mean, you were just like on it from the moment from June 15th. You were just on it and consistent. June, August, October, November. Then you got peer coach status starting in 2021, leadership training in 21, anger management in 22, coach certification, leadership training group study, and then now you're home. Pretty
Yeah.
exciting. I mean, this is a record to be proud of, and it certainly shows consistency. And consistency, as you and I know, and all of our students know, the more consistent you are, the more you practice these tools, the more they become the very functionality of your brain. They become, I am GOGI. I am the GOGI tools. I don't even have to think of them because they're, after 22 years, there's so much a part of me that my breath is GOGI tool breath. And I venture to say that in the 3 years that you've been actively engaged in GOGI, you probably feel the same, that they are almost second nature. Is that true?
Absolutely, especially the tools of choice. In the beginning, applying the tools of choice and the 3 Ps, sometimes I'd find myself waiting in line on the prison yard or waiting for an unlock. And so I would run around in my brain and I would start thinking about thoughts, and I would ask those similar thoughts. Is this powerful? Is this productive? Is this positive? And if it didn't, I just dismissed it and I kind of searched my brain for some more. And when I started to find pretty quickly that your brain starts to throw up options that qualify to the 3 Ps, and you start to retrain your brain in the habit of these thoughts that you spend focus on and your energy on qualify under the 3 Ps, and then that starts to be your wide range option. And that was what I really started to notice, is GOGI was starting to really take root deep down inside. And in some of the more challenging situations, it was much easier for me to be able to quell the internal conversation. Because as we spoke, Coach Taylor, the epiphany I had about 4 or 5 months into heavy study to GOGI was, wait a minute, the internal conversation does not dictate my reactions at that time. Wait, I'm boss of my brain. I get to decide what goes on in the internal conversation because the internal conversation is a part of me. When for so long, for 40 years of my life, I thought the internal conversation dictated my response, or back then, mostly a negative reaction. And then I learned that no, I get to control and direct the internal conversation. So then when something came up, maybe somebody bumped into you or something, instead of the old me, like, hey, what's their problem? The new me was like, wow, maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they didn't even notice, or maybe something else is going on. Hey, have a nice day. And a smile, a GOGI smile. I mean, that's when I was able to encompass GOGI and be an example for others, to be able to go, hey, they would say, hey, that guy's GOGI, or they would say, hey, I want what you have because I saw the guy cut in line in front of you, and you just kind of brushed it off and smiled and said hi. And they
Yeah,
were like,
beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful. I love that so much, Coach Jason, and I so look forward to you on the streets, just showing people what it's like to be Gogi. It's one thing to talk about it. You know, we can all talk about the tools, but actually to be an example and allow things like that interaction where somebody cuts you off and your response then becomes intriguing to others. Like, wow, what do you got that we don't got? Because, you know, it's a kind of a chaotic world out there. And the more peaceful you can be in the face of chaos, the more internal freedom you have, the bigger of a perspective you have on possibilities. So I've just got to commend you on all your good work. And I definitely am 100% behind you, and all of GOGI is on establishing a GOGI house, a GOGI friendly house. And we will do whatever we can to support you in that way. And I'm just so proud of you. Congratulations on getting out, and congratulations on all you're doing. Do you want to give one last shout out to all the people on the video that are watching us right now?
Absolutely. Remember, Gogi is possible. It lies within, and this is our internal freedom, and this is what we get to keep. And we only give over control if we decide to, because we're in control of ourselves. And so, Gogi for life.
I appreciate you, Coach Jason. And to everybody out there, you too can be Gogi. The tools are free, they're for you. And we want to see you be as free as we feel, don't we, Coach?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty.
Gogi for life.
Bye, everyone.